Sonic Universe, issue 86. Again, Eggman's armies are faced with a witch who can mind control people and Metal Sonic. I don't care how good they are at fighting. Logically, they'd be immediately screwed. So I'm not looking forward to an entire issue of padding that's gonna throw logic out the window right away to justify Eggman winning, and getting his base back after a measly 4 issues of losing its Wendy witch cart. So let's count all the ways that logic is thrown out the window, that don't involve focusing on hideous characters. Eggman's Eggmobile is able to outrun Metal Sonic instead of him being killed instantly. Hideous people fight robots, and then Wendy is threatened with a chain and she tells him to be gone, but doesn't proceed to mind control him. All she does is blast apart a chain attached to the Eggmobile that's driving away. Why would Wendy of all people try to flee like a coward instead of defending herself? Isn't it obvious she could win against all these people at once effortlessly? Why doesn't she fire an ice beam at him? She says that she can't drive and control over minions. Ixis says that he's trying as hard as he can to control Metal Sonic. How? So he did get his powers back? There's an explosion and Wendy's sent out of her Eggmobile with a direct hit, apparently. Is Ixis just calling her dear sister sarcastically? Then Metal Sonic is sent towards Eggman. Again, he'd be killed immediately. There's an explosion, but somehow Eggman survives, and we cut to him wearing green armor that doesn't fully cover him. And its greenness reminds me of the green crystals Ixis controlled the giant robot with. So that was confusing. How did he get in the armor that fast? I guess he pressed the button on his shirt, and that's what that blue flash of light was. Was I supposed to assume that when he presses it, he's immediately surrounded with an invincibility force field that protects him until he gets his armor summoned around him? So it only has so much power, since it can't just keep him invincible. So Metal Sonic gets hit away, and Eggman's uncharacteristically nice enough to apologize and say he'll repair him later. Not that I can actually see Metal Sonic getting hit. Instead, there's a blue ball of light. This is not how you draw fight scenes. I can't even tell what happened. Energy doesn't send you away, it just makes you fall on the ground and twitch. They want to crystallize his armor, and he brags that they can't crystallize pure energy. No armor could be made of energy because energy isn't solid. So somehow Eggman's armor isn't crystallized, and he's able to punch Ixis. Not that it's remotely satisfying, because 1, he's immune to their ice powers because of bullshit Deus Ex Machina favoritizing the piece of shit game villain when he doesn't deserve it. Who would want to make this heartless psychopath have invincible bullshit super armor? We aren't even told what it's powered by. If it was powered by a shard to the Master Emeralds, that explained the greenness. He doesn't say it's powered by Chaos Drives, but I guess it has to be. And 2, I can't see his fists actually impact Ixis because of a shitty blue flash of light drawn to censor it, as if this is a terrible dub of Dragon Ball Z. The artist isn't even consistent with doing that, so there's no excuse. And 3, seeing this pissed me off because it instantly reminded me of when a mere mortal, the Cuckoo Army leader, was able to punch Ixis in the chest, which would obviously never happen because Ixis was a powerful wizard at that point. He would have just killed him effortlessly. This is just doing a disservice to the character that used to be a badass and fascinating wizard, completely taken seriously. And what a coincidence, he's from Sad AM. He grabs Ixis' beard, and then Wendy gets threatened by a weapon against her neck from behind by an army she obviously would have won against a long time ago. Eggman aims a ray gun at Ixis just for Metal Sonic to get in the way. It turns out the flash of light from that gave Ixis time to escape. Ixis says to forget about him because he's lost and he knows it. The water buffalo says that he can't see much of anything after that flash of light. The fact that this realistic thing happens for him just makes me wonder why this doesn't happen for everyone, every time. But at least the plot isn't requiring Eggman to be able to see, so maybe he's having that same problem. Wendy says that this was all Ixis' idea, though I guess she's lying, and she willingly releases his badniks instead of mind controlling or freezing everyone around her. A powerful witch would not be reduced to this pathetic, simpering wimp. I always knew that the Tails Sky Patrol characters would come back, but I didn't think it would disappoint me this much. She reveals out of nowhere that she used to help Eggman, and Eggman explains that she sold him ancient relics in exchange for his tech. Eggman's clearly talking like he thinks the relics are worthless, and yet Wendy thinks offering relics again will be an enticing offer. Why did he even take any relics in the first place? Instead, the water buffalo reminds Eggman that he wanted even number of sub-bosses, and Eggman says that he doesn't have an expert in elements under his control yet. Cool, so she'll get to live longer, but still, she can control his robots. This is as stupid as the idea of the Iron Queen being subjugated by Eggman. And yet she somehow got beaten in a scientifically impossible mecha. Can't this woman just crystallize all these cyborgs too? So after a bunch of time is wasted, Eggman tells Orbot to prep the injector. A small implant for Wendy and her minions so they can keep in contact over short distances, as opposed to long distances like Earth's cell phone technology can do just fine, and to keep them online. So he plans the cyborg guys hold them, and the reboot's gonna end before we see him take advantage of them anyways. I don't know how they won that easily, but at least it didn't take until the end of the issue. Oh, holy shit, that's why. Because they're gonna waste a whole bunch of our time on uselessly showing us every sub-boss going home individually. Why doesn't he just skip over the hideous DeviantArt ones? Maybe I wouldn't hate them so much if it was established that they're aliens. Rick and Morty has tons of crazy alien designs. They aren't always trying to be visually appealing, but it's justified because they're aliens. In this comic, these designs are off-putting and looks like the artist doesn't know what he's doing with the new character designs, because I'm supposed to believe they're Mobian animal people just like all the rest, when they look like this. Well, at least Abyss looks more like an actual squid than Squidward does. But I guess I would have preferred if she was any color other than white. I end up skipping over all of the scenes where the sub-bosses went home because I hate the horrible looking ones that much, and they're all jerks. Either that or pointless foreshadowing to the fact that they have their own evil plan, which we're never going to get to see because the reboot will end. Or they won't have an evil plan if they're totally pointless characters. The story ends with Ixis in front of a Master Emerald, saying that he has other ways of restoring his powers. Even the text box at the end of the story lampshades that this shouldn't happen because it was broken to pieces. And the heroes have all the Chaos Emeralds. Well, since he was able to detect the presence of rings and found Nate and his ring generator in Archie, it makes sense that he'd have a Chaos Emerald and Master Emerald radar too. So he could have found these while traveling in the world. This could be it, or he could have found a spare Master Emerald and a whole mine of them. But that was Fleetway, a good comic book. So they're not going to use that idea again because that was actually creative. This story was by Ian Flynn and immediately threw all logic out the window because Wendy wasted the entire fight fleeing, driving away, instead of just mind-controlling everyone at once, even if only to make them stand still so they could all be frozen by ice beams. If she did that, she wouldn't have had to worry about the fact that she couldn't both drive and control Badniks and the Witch Carters, who were far less in focus as people than they should have been. I would have preferred if all of the scenes with the horrible DeviantArt characters were replaced with a longer fight scene with the Witch Carters, or better yet, backstories developing on their characters to fully take advantage of them coming back. How did they meet Wendy? Anyways, they should have just skipped to the part where Eggman put on his hard light armor. I don't buy that anything would be immune to being covered with crystals and controlled. It's not explained that he had a wizard cast a spell on it to make it that way. I don't buy that anyone would have survived Metal Sonic flying at him. Eggman should have explained right away that his Eggmobile is made to be so fast that Sonic, and therefore Metal Sonic, can't catch up to it. Normally the Eggmobile is slow in the games, especially the drilling Eggmobile. No one would have survived Metal Sonic flying around. It didn't seem like the entire fight took place in an area that big. It seemed like it was small. So it seemed like Metal Sonic and the Eggmobile were moving at a snail's pace the whole time. Why did Eggman survive the explosion and instantly end up wearing armor? I'm glad Wendy was spared, but she wouldn't have ever ended up tamed as a sub-boss. She would have easily obliterated everyone because she's a witch who can mind control. It should have been explained that she's only able to control 3 people at a time. Even then, Metal Sonic is fast, so the story's dumb. He shouldn't have been in it at all because he just broke the stories. And a lot of the issue is wasted on painfully boring padding. The worst of all being the point where somehow Flynn got away with showing every single sub-boss coming home individually. I feel like padding this egregious never happened in the early Archie comic. As I expected, none of this issue was justified to happen. The arc only exists as a flimsy, failed excuse to try to explain away why Wendy's going to be working for Eggman now, even though he's a mortal and she's a witch. I really hated seeing her so pathetic and whining when she was begging for life. Flynn made a mockery of her character. If you skipped this arc and became confused that Wendy was suddenly one of Eggman's sub-bosses, reading this arc would leave you just as confused as when you started.